Have you ever wondered about the most daring, bizarre, and ingenious aircraft designs that could have reshaped aviation history, but never made it off the drawing board? From sub-orbital bombers to UFO-like saucers, these mind-blowing inventions were ahead of their time. Buckle up as we dive into top 8 ingenious aircraft inventions that were never built. Imagine a fighter plane with no guns, missiles, or bombs. Sounds like a joke, right? But during World War II, the Germans developed the Gotha Rama, a concept that tossed conventional warfare out the window, quite literally. This aircraft wasn't just about precision strikes or dogfights, it was about headbutts. Yes, you heard that right. The Gotha Rama was designed to ram into enemy bombers mid-air, relying on brute force rather than firepower. Picture a giant rocket-propelled battering ram in the sky. This audacious idea involved a heavily shielded cockpit mounted on a rocket. It would launch either from the ground or piggyback off another plane before charging straight into formations of Allied bombers. The plan? Smash through the enemy's defenses, cripple their bomber fleet, and come out victorious, or at least leave a lasting impression. To handle such kamikaze-like tasks, the pilot would require nerves of steel. And the plane itself? It was as minimalist as it gets, no fancy avionics, just a cockpit and some rocket fuel strapped to a metal tube. Engineers even drafted several versions of the Gotha Rama, tweaking designs to maximize its ramming efficiency. One prototype featured reinforced wings for added durability during collisions. But as cool or crazy as it sounds, the Gotha Rama never saw active service. Allied air superiority meant it never had a chance to leave the drawing board. The rapid evolution of air combat technology rendered the idea obsolete, with faster, more practical planes dominating the skies. Still, the Gotha Rama remains a fascinating footnote in aviation history. It's the kind of invention that makes you wonder, what were they thinking? Was it genius or desperation? Either way, this fearless, gunless fighter reminds us that innovation sometimes takes bizarre forms, proof that not all good ideas make it off the ground, literally or figuratively. If you've ever wondered where all those UFO conspiracy theories started, meet the Sac AS-6. This aircraft, born in 1938, wasn't your average warplane. Instead, it looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, with its circular, saucer-like design sparking rumors of extraterrestrial origins. The Sac AS-6 was a brainchild of a visionary farmer who sought to create a groundbreaking low-speed observational aircraft. Its unique design promised short takeoffs and landings, making it ideal for recon missions. Imagine a pancake-shaped plane gracefully gliding over enemy lines while spotting targets and gathering intel. Sounds promising, right? Unfortunately, the Sac AS-6's story is less about success and more about egos and missed opportunities. The farmer's groundbreaking concept never truly got the support it needed. Engineers and military officials were skeptical of its practicality, and infighting among stakeholders sealed its fate. Despite its potential, the plane never entered serial production. But the story doesn't end there. The Sac AS-6's innovative design didn't go unnoticed. Decades later, its concept inspired other aviation pioneers. In fact, the US Navy developed the Vought V-173, affectionately named the Flying Pancake. This aircraft borrowed heavily from the Sac AS-6, proving that even abandoned ideas can leave a legacy. So why didn't the Sac AS-6 take flight? Partly because it was ahead of its time. Its unorthodox design raised eyebrows, and traditionalists weren't ready to embrace such radical innovation. But imagine if it had succeeded. Would we be flying saucers to work today? The Sac AS-6 might not have soared through the skies, but it certainly left an imprint on aviation lore. Whether you see it as a lost opportunity or the precursor of modern UFO myths, one thing's for sure. This pancaked plane serves up a hefty serving of what if. The Junkers Ju-287 was the aviation equivalent of Frankenstein's monster, an aircraft stitched together from its bits and pieces of other planes. But what truly set it apart was its bold, futuristic design, forward-swept wings. Imagine a bird flying backward, and you'll get the picture. This German bomber was designed to outpace Allied fighter jets during World War II, and on paper, it looked like it could pull off the impossible. Built in 1994, the Ju-287 prototype had the guts of various scrapped aircraft. Its fuselage came from a HE-177, its landing gear from a Junkers Ju-352, and its tail from a Ju-188. It was a patchwork marvel, but what really stole the show here was those iconic forward-swept wings. This radical design promised better maneuverability and stability at high speeds, something unheard of at that time. It was a bomber that could theoretically outrun its enemies, a real game-changer in the sky. But while the Ju-287's design was ahead of its time, its development was too late in the war. A working prototype was tested and even flew successfully, but Germany's resources were stretched too thin to mass-produce this groundbreaking plane. By 1945, an order for 500 units had been placed, but the war's end left the Ju-287 grounded forever. Despite its short-lived history, the Ju-287 left a lasting legacy. Its forward-swept wings influenced future aircraft designs on both sides of the Iron Curtain. In fact, decades later, the US and Soviet Union would revisit this concept for their experimental jets. The Ju-287 was proof that innovation can come from the most unexpected places, even a Frankenplane cobbled together in the final days of war. Imagine an aircraft so specific in purpose that its entire mission was designed to last just 6 minutes. Enter the EF-009, a German jet fighter built as a last-ditch defense against Allied bombers in World War II. This plane wasn't about endurance or long-haul missions. It was a quick and dirty solution to a dire problem. The EF-009 was designed as a point defense interceptor, stationed around critical German locations like factories and cities. It was meant to sit idle until an enemy raid was detected. Then, within minutes, it would launch into action, powered by an incredible cluster of 10 jet engines mounted at its nose. Once airborne, it had one job: take out enemy bombers as quickly as possible before running out of fuel. And what about the pilot? Flying the EF-009 was no walk in the park. The G-forces during takeoff were so intense that the pilot had to lie down in a prone position just to stay conscious. Landing wasn't any easier. The plane wasn't designed to gracefully return to Earth. Instead, it relied on an unpowered glide, landing on a central skid mounted under the fuselage. Its weaponry was equally impressive for such a short-lived mission. 2 20mm cannons and 2 30mm cannons, enough firepower to make any bomber pilot sweat. But the EF-009 never made it past the planning stage. Advances in aircraft design and the war's swift conclusion rendered this 6-minute wonder obsolete before it could even take off. The EF-009 is a fascinating example of wartime innovation born out of desperation. While it never got the chance to show its stuff, its design captures the frantic ingenuity of an era when every second counted. If nothing else, it proves that sometimes even 6 minutes can make history or almost make it. When desperation meets innovation, you get the Focke-Wulf Super Loren, a plane designed to be Germany's final ace in the hole during World War II. This emergency jet fighter was meant to outfly, outmaneuver, and outright outclass Allied bombers before they could wreak havoc. Though it never left the drawing board, its design remains a testament to the audacity of wartime engineering. The Super Loren was part of the German emergency fighter program, a last-ditch effort to produce cutting-edge aircraft capable of defending the crumbling Third Reich. Powered by a combination of rocket engines and turbojets, this beast was all about speed. Its unique setup included fuselage-mounted rocket engines for insane bursts of acceleration and turbojets for takeoff and sustained flight. The piece de resistance? Ramjets mounted on its swept-back tailplanes, which would take over once the rocket engines provided enough initial velocity. This speed demon was intended to intercept Allied bombers long before they reached critical German sites. It was designed to be faster than anything in the sky, an aircraft that could strike hard, disappear, and leave Allied pilots scratching their heads. Unfortunately, the Super Loren never progressed beyond the conceptual stage. By the time its plans were drawn up in late 1944, Allied forces were advancing on all fronts, and Germany lacked the resources to bring such an ambitious project to life. The war ended, and the Super Lorne remained nothing more than an idea, a tantalizing glimpse of what might have been. While it never took flight, the Super Lorne's innovative design has earned it a place in aviation lore. Its rocket and ramjet combo was ahead of its time, influencing future experimental aircraft. The Super Lorne stands as a reminder of the frantic creativity unleashed in the face of impending defeat, proof that even in dire circumstances, human ingenuity can soar. The Horten Ho-229 wasn't just another prototype fighter, it was a vision of the future. Designed by the Horten brothers during World War II, this jet-powered flying wing was like nothing the world had ever seen. Its sleek, futuristic design looked like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, and in many ways, it was. The Ho-229 was part of the German push for advanced weaponry that could turn the tide of the war. Its flying wing design wasn't just for show. It reduced drag, increased efficiency, and made the aircraft harder to detect on radar. Essentially a stealth bomber before stealth was even a thing. Powered by two Jumo 004B turbojet engines, the Ho-229 had a projected top speed of over 950 km per hour and a range of up to 1,900 kilometers, making it a formidable contender for long-range missions. But the Horten brothers didn't stop there. They dreamed even bigger, sketching plans for the Ho-18, a massive flying wing bomber capable of crossing the Atlantic. This big brother to the Ho-229 was designed to carry a crew of 4 and 6 turbojet engines. With a wingspan of 40 meters, it could have theoretically bombed targets as far away as New York. The idea of this futuristic bomber striking the US was chilling, and thankfully, it remained just an idea. The Ho-229 did see some progress, with prototypes built and tested, but the war ended before it could enter production. Its legacy, however, lived on. The Ho-229's groundbreaking design inspired future stealth aircraft, including the U.S. Air Force's B-2 Spirit bomber. The Horten Ho-229 and its ambitious successor are shining examples of visionary engineering. They show how even in the darkest times, bold ideas can push the boundaries of what's possible. While they never reached their full potential, their influence on modern aviation is undeniable, a reminder that sometimes dreams really do take flight. The Silbervogel, or Silverbird, was one of the most ambitious aviation concepts to come out of World War II. Designed as a sub-orbital bomber, this craft was less of an airplane and more of a rocket with wings. Intended to deliver destruction from the edge of space, if built, it could have forever changed the nature of warfare, or more realistically, it would have burned up spectacularly during its maiden hop. Conceived by Austrian engineer Eugen Sanger and mathematician Irene Sanger-Brett, the Silbervogel was a brainchild of Nazi Germany's desperation to strike at distant targets, including the United States. The concept involved launching the bomber along a massive 3-kilometer-long rocket sled track to achieve incredible speed and altitude. Once airborne, the Silbervogel's rocket engines would propel it to a sub-orbital altitude of 145 kilometers, where it would bounce along the upper atmosphere like a skipping stone. This bouncing effect, known as dynamic soaring, was meant to conserve fuel while allowing the aircraft to travel intercontinental distances. Armed with a 4,000-kilogram bomb, the Silbervogel would theoretically cross the Atlantic, drop its payload on targets like New York City, and continue onward to land in Japanese-controlled territory. It was an audacious plan, to say the least. However, the science behind the Silbervogel wasn't as solid as its designers hoped. Later, calculations revealed that the aircraft would have burned up due to the atmospheric friction during its bounces. As promising as the concept sounded on paper, it was ultimately more science fiction than science fact. Despite its flaws, the Silbervogel left an undeniable mark on aerospace engineering. Its principles inspired early spaceplane designs and laid the groundwork for future projects like the US X-20 Dinosaur. The Silverbird remains a fascinating example of wartime innovation pushed to the extreme, proof that sometimes the sky isn't the limit, it's just the beginning. Few wartime aircraft are as shrouded in mystery and controversy as the so-called Nazi UFO. Whether it was an experimental circular aircraft or simply the stuff of conspiracy theories, This enigmatic design has captured imaginations for decades, sparking debates about what the Nazis may have been up to behind closed hangar doors. The concept of the Nazi UFO, or flying saucer, emerged from scattered documents and unconfirmed reports about circular aircraft allegedly developed by German engineers. One rumored design featured a 6.5-meter wide saucer capable of reaching speeds of 2,000 kilometers per hour, double the speed of sound at the time. It was said to rise vertically with a blue-green glow and leave a silvery trail in its wake, like something straight out of a sci-fi novel. Even more intriguing were claims that the Italians had collaborated with the Nazis on this experimental craft at a Fiat facility in northern Italy. Allegedly, the saucer used jet propulsion and a spinning force mechanism to achieve lift and flight. While this sounds futuristic, some historians dismiss it as a combination of propaganda and post-war exaggeration. But wait, there's more. Rumors about the Nazi UFO go beyond engineering marvels. They veer into the paranormal. Some accounts suggest the Nazis were investigating advanced alien technology to gain a strategic edge. While there's no solid evidence to support these claims, the mere idea has fueled countless books, documentaries, and late-night conspiracy discussions. So, did the Nazi UFO really exist? Most historians and aviation experts say no. It's more likely that these stories are exaggerated accounts of experimental aircraft projects, like the Vril and Hau-Nebu designs, which were never fully realized. True or not, the Nazi UFO remains one of aviation history's greatest enigmas. Whether you see it as a groundbreaking concept or just a great story, it's a reminder of how war, innovation, and imagination can collide in ways that defy explanation. Have you ever wondered about the most daring, bizarre, and ingenious aircraft designs that could have reshaped aviation history but never made it off the drawing board? From sub-orbital bombers to UFO-like saucers, these mind-blowing inventions were ahead of their time.